The Atlantic unleashed its fury this weekend, transforming into a merciless beast. A ferocious nor'easter battered the U.S. East Coast from the Carolinas to New England with hurricane-force gusts, torrential rain, and catastrophic coastal flooding. In Maryland and New Jersey, monstrous 15-foot waves obliterated dunes and boardwalks, swallowing entire streets in a watery abyss. Power vanished for tens of thousands, leaving neighborhoods submerged in darkness and chaos. Emergency declarations gripped 4 states as officials warned of tides surging even higher under the cover of night. In Ocean City, Maryland, residents stood shell-shocked, calling this the worst flooding in decades. One eyewitness, voice trembling over the howling wind, cried, "The ocean's in the streets. I've never seen it like this. This isn't just a storm. It's a brutal clash between land and sea, and the Atlantic is claiming victory." By Friday night, the nor'easter struck with unrelenting wrath. In Ocean City, Maryland, streets vanished beneath 4 feet of churning water as waves pummeled the boardwalk and surged through downtown. Winds screaming at 60 mph ripped at rooftops while cars bobbed like toys down once peaceful avenues. "We've had storms before," said Mayor Rick Meehan, his voice heavy. "But this? It's like the ocean forgot its boundaries." Inland, Salisbury became a labyrinth of flooded intersections and powerless blocks. Aging drainage systems collapsed instantly, sending torrents rushing into basements and storefronts. To the south, Assateague Island National Seashore took a devastating blow. Dunes that stood for generations crumbled in hours, wiping out wildlife habitats and flooding campgrounds. By Saturday morning, the storm's wrath spanned nearly 500 miles, hammering New Jersey's barrier islands. In Sea Isle City and Cape May, residents watched in horror as tides refused to retreat, piling wave upon wave, tide upon tide. Each high tide brought more devastation, and with every passing hour, the Atlantic clawed further inland. This was no mere coastal storm. It was the ocean staking its claim. As night fell, chaos engulfed the East Coast. In Atlantic City, power lines snapped like brittle twigs under 65 mph gusts, plunging neighborhoods into pitch-black despair. Police radios crackled with desperate calls. Families trapped in cars, seniors stranded in flooded homes. Emergency crews waded through chest-deep water, guided only by flashlights and sheer will. In Ventnor, volunteers formed human chains to pull the elderly from rising waters. Further south, in North Carolina's Outer Banks, the situation turned grim. Highway 12, the lifeline to Hatteras Island, vanished beneath crashing waves. A beachfront home in Buxton collapsed live on camera, its wooden frame splintering as the sea devoured it whole. "It's like the ocean's taking back the land," said storm chaser Mark Sudduth, his voice breaking through the gale. From Charleston to Cape May, the storm lingered, unyielding. Rain totals exceeded 5 inches, and every gust drove the tide deeper inland. By midnight, thousands were without power, hundreds were displaced, and entire towns were cut off. For millions, this was the longest night of their lives. A battle not just against the storm, but against fear itself. Meteorologists labeled it a classic nor'easter, but its destruction stemmed from a perfect collision of forces. A deep low-pressure system spun off the Carolinas, gorging on Atlantic waters 3 degrees warmer than normal. That heat fueled the storm's ferocity, expanding its wind field and stalling its advance. As it crept north, it slammed into a fierce Arctic cold front, locking it in place along the coast. This trap kept the storm pounding the same communities for days, with relentless waves and tides battering without mercy. Dr. Raj Patel, a climatologist at Rutgers University, warned, "This isn't random, it's a trend. Warmer oceans breed stronger, longer-lasting storms." At its peak, the nor'easter's wind field sprawled over 600 miles, blanketing an area the size of Texas. Storm surges hit 8 feet in New Jersey and 6 feet along Maryland's eastern shore, levels unseen since Superstorm Sandy in 2012. By Saturday night, weather satellites captured a mesmerizing spiral of clouds, a stark reminder that this was no hurricane, yet it wielded equal power. The Atlantic had roared to life. By Sunday morning, the human toll emerged in heart-wrenching clarity. In Ocean City, Maryland, families awoke to find cars submerged and streets transformed into rivers. Firefighters deployed high-water trucks, battling waves nearly 4 feet high to rescue trapped residents. "I've lived here 30 years, said Lisa Ramirez, her voice trembling, "but I've never seen the ocean come this far inland." In Charleston, South Carolina, elderly residents were ferried from flooded homes in inflatable rafts. Churches flung open their doors, offering blankets and warm meals to the displaced. In Cape May and Ventnor, New Jersey, volunteers and emergency crews worked tirelessly, stacking sandbags and clearing drains by flashlight. But the emotional scars cut deeper than flooded basements. In Buxton, North Carolina, a family watched helplessly as their beachfront home dissolved into the surf. Others grappled with the agony of lost pets, cherished memories, and half-submerged homes. Yet, amid the wreckage, humanity shone. Neighbors shared generators, strangers rescued strangers. For thousands, survival became a testament to courage. For millions, it was a sobering wake-up call. The ocean doesn't need a hurricane's name to change everything. Here in Southport, North Carolina, the storm's fury still echoes. As dawn broke Sunday, the response spanned 4 states. Governors in North Carolina, Maryland, New Jersey, and Delaware declared emergencies, unleashing disaster funds and mobilizing the National Guard. In Maryland, high-water rescue vehicles patrolled drowned neighborhoods while utility crews from across the Mid-Atlantic raced to restore power to nearly 300,000 customers. Maryland Emergency Management Agency Director Carla James addressed reporters, "Our focus is life safety. Rescue first, recovery second. This storm isn't done." The Red Cross opened dozens of shelters offering food, blankets, and medical care. In New Jersey, police boats navigated submerged streets, pulling families from second-story windows. In Charleston, volunteers formed sandbag brigades while FEMA teams surveyed damage from the air. The devastation was staggering. Highways along the Jersey shore remained impassable. Erosion obliterated Assateague Island and the Outer Banks, and floodwaters choked businesses and marinas. Yet, through the chaos, unity emerged. Neighbors opened their homes. Strangers delivered meals. Amid the storm's wreckage, the East Coast showed the true meaning of resilience. As the winds subsided and tides retreated, the destruction came into sharp focus. Across Maryland, New Jersey, and the Carolinas, neighborhoods lay scarred, roads buckled, dunes erased, homes reduced to splintered shells. For many, it was the worst flooding since Superstorm Sandy. Utility crews restored power to tens of thousands, but coastal erosion had wreck-lived the shoreline forever. Ocean City's boardwalk lay buried under sand. In Charleston, pumps worked tirelessly to drain historic streets still gleaming with water. Economists estimate damages in the hundreds of millions, with cleanup stretching weeks and rebuilding far longer.